Okay, we are back. We are live. Okay, so cheers, Mantro. I guess
Cheers.
a very different beginning this time. Oh, that's the
Yeah.
Starbucks. Now I'm jealous that my hometown doesn't have the Starbucks, but okay. Talking about, we are here to fulfill a promise that we made it to our viewers, right? So I hope everyone who is watching this video, in last one of my video, I made a promise with Sumantro that we are going to do a live kernel testing, and even he's gonna share us like how he created the entire Fedora community. We put it at a target of 200 likes, but we slightly missed it. But no worries. At least we got the half of it. So we are here to fulfill one of the promise. And we are here to do the exclusive Fedora kernel testing. And this is the very first time that we are doing it live, right? According to me, yes.
Yes.
So at least in 2021, we as all the Fedora community ambassadors, we are like doing the kernel testing. And to be open means, I for me personally, I have always been the believer of this quote by WB Yeats, that do not wait to strike till the iron is hot, but make it hot by striking. So now thing is, people says that some time will come in your life, then you are only going to get started with the contributions, or like after attaining certain good knowledge, only then I'll kick off my technical journey, or I'm gonna go and start giving back to the community and all. No, we just set it up our expectations to make the thing happen. But I'm glad, or at least me and Sumantra were interacting just about few minutes back, that at least we are glad that we were able to reach out to 100 people, and it has crossed more than, like, I guess 500 or 600 views. But this is not for the views, or this is not for the likes. It's all about giving back to the community first. So let me just kick off this part that we are doing the Fedora kernel testing. But before we jump on to the like how to do those, let me just set up the context that what is kernel. So according to me, and I guess Sumantro, you can just let me know that if I am going it right or wrong. So according to me, the kernel is a like a computer program at the core of computer's operating system that has the complete control over everything in the system. That means, like, it is a portion of that operating system code itself that is always resident in the memory, and it basically help you to have the interaction between the hardware and the software components. Am I going it correct, Sumantra?
Yep, you are.
Right.
You are.
So according to me means, when I actually met for the first time to Sumantro, and he actually introduced me to the kernel testing days and all other testing days that we are going to slowly come up when they are happening. So for 2021, this is the first kernel test week that we are doing. And according to me, so I just want to stick to this basic. And according to me, the objectives of kernel, why kernel is important for any operating system. The very first foremost point is to establish the communication between the user level application and the hardware, right? And the second part is to decide the state of incoming processes, to control the disk management, to control the memory management, or even to control the task management. So I see personally, when it comes to the kernel, it is the just like a brain to our entire body. How we are
Yeah.
going to react to those particular situation when somebody says it, or like if somebody addresses me that, hey, like, keep your finger on mouth. So I just did it, and then my reaction is actually by a command that is being processed by my brain. And similar thing happens with the operating system, that kernel instructs something and you get the reactions to it, right?
Yep.
So
You do.
Sumantra, what we have for our viewers today, can you just please let us know?
Yeah. So, as promised, right? This
Yes.
call is to give every one of the people who are tuned into at this point, to give
Yeah.
them an idea of why we do this kernel test weeks, like what are the
Hmm.
importance of kernel testing, and per se how it affects. So a lot of people come up with this thing that, hey, I'm running 5 commands, right? And then the, you know, how does it make me a contributor? What is the importance of this, right? And
Right.
understanding the importance of even running those commands is very important. Like for an extent, that is very important for us to explain the contributors why, and also
Right.
to kind of explain how it is done. Although the call
Right.
is about doing it live, but the important should be why you are doing what you are doing, right? So here's
Yes.
what happens. So Fedora follows a ecosystem where we have rawhide, which is the flowing thing, right? It never stops.
Right.
We break rawhide every, after a certain point of time, we branch it out. We call it Fedora
Hmm.
branched, and then the QA members and the contributors, they contribute to the process, and then we make it stable, and then it gets released, right? And this releases every
Right.
6 months. The thing
Okay.
is that kernel releases every 6 weeks. What that
Right.
intends is we are going to get lot more kernels per release cycles. At least 3 is the minimum number we get, give or take. Now
Okay.
the kernels, after Linux Torvald signs it off and everything is done, it lands directly into rawhide. And rawhide is this alpha quality thing, and it flows, right? But it is not given to people.
Hmm.
Like not
Right.
everybody who is using a Fedora installs a rawhide. They use a released version of Fedora, right? Now,
Right.
or rather more the stable version of Fedora. Like for example, I'm running 33 right now, and the
Hmm.
thing is that every time there's a new kernel, like this time we're testing with 5.10. See, 5.10 hasn't yet hit 33 by default. So
Hmm.
if you try to do a uname R on your system, so if I
Yeah.
currently I have a fully updated system, and if I run a uname R, it just tells me 5.9.16.200, which means the maximum kernel version, stable kernel version is 5.9.16, right?
Okay.
Before 5.10 even comes to this stable platform, which is
Hmm.
32, 33, right currently, right? We
Right.
are supposed to test it. And this
Yes.
test week is all about using the current stable version of Fedora, which is 33,
Okay.
to install a kernel which is newer and which is going to go stable, right? So we figure out
Right.
if all the hardware is working fine. So like you
Hmm.
said, it's about the communication between your hardware and your operating system. So a lot of times we have seen, if you try to install Linux on community off the shelf hardware, a lot of people complain, hey, my Wi-Fi driver is not working, my Bluetooth driver stopped working, my sound suddenly stopped working. The thing
Right.
is, it's because nobody ran the kernel testing of the new kernel on that
Hmm.
particular piece of hardware, right? And so when we installed the operating system which came with that kernel, now your operating system is like, oh yeah, but I don't know this driver. So I don't know this hardware. I'm not able to communicate with this piece of hardware. And suddenly your Wi-Fi would stop working, some of the other thing will go wrong.
Hmm.
The community members in a kernel test week will help us kind of test it on their hardware. So the next time Fedora ships, we know one thing we know is either the kernel is supported of all the hardwares, which we
Yeah.
kind of know, and if there is a bug, the community members file it back, and then the kernel devs fix it, and then that hardware gets supported completely. And now we are not just talking about hardwares like you know our laptops. We are thinking more code to like MacBooks. We are thinking more code to like things like Raspberry Pi,
Right.
Jetson, any kind of hardware, basically anything that can run Fedora, right? We're looking at that and we're saying, hey, if you wanted to run Fedora on such hardware, let me tell you, this is how it is supposed to be done. Now, it's very important that in a kernel test week, we test the performance of the device. And when we say the performance of the device, we mean that let's say your current kernel is working perfectly fine, and you just want to make sure that the new kernel which is being updated does not regress anything, which means doesn't break anything which is currently working in your
Currently
system.
working, right?
The easy way of doing it is just setting up a virtual machine, right?
Hmm.
Giving it a default configuration of your 64-bit and giving it a default BIOS configuration, and then booting up the image. Now this
Okay.
image that you see, the kernel test image that you are supposed to get from a wiki, this kernel
Right.
test image is basically just a Fedora 33 image,
Hmm.
but with the new kernel. So it is
Got
the 33 base image plus the new kernel. So what happens is when you install this, you get the latest kernel on a 33 machine. So if anything breaks, you would be able to figure out right away.
it.
So,
Oh,
you know, the way of doing it is you can do it on bare metal, you can do it on virtualization, however way you want to do it. For the sake of it, we are going to do it on a virtualization and we're going to show how this thing is supposed to be done. So it's important for our community members to know why we are doing it. And the why is
right.
because if you want a more stable kernel for your hardware, contribute
Yes.
to the test day.
Test
That
taste.
helps Fedora break that hardware barrier beyond, and then we can go ahead and support more and more and more such hardware, right? Because number of, see, I don't have 15 laptops, I only have one laptop. But if we gather the community together, now we have a bunch of those hardwares which we would never have, but then we can definitely leverage on the testing effort that way.
And even like when I just started, we kick off this particular quotation that we cannot wait for the iron to get hot. We
Yep.
have to strike so many times that ultimately it becomes hot. And similar thing happens that we cannot wait somebody to come and say that, hey, look, this thing is not working. Before even that, let's accumulate all the people around us and let's do the testing so that if something is wrong before the release, we can fix it and we can go ahead and do it,
Yep.
right?
That's
So
the
Sumantro, I guess somebody has just put down a comment from Amitek is that it will be great if we can watch the live hands-on testing.
Oh yeah,
So
sure. That's
we
exactly.
will be able to do it, Amitek. And all the viewers, we are just gonna come up to the part of hands-on testing. We are going to do it on the virtual machine, as just Sumantro said. So this is the particular my objective of bringing Sumantro back is to give you an essence that if you want to contribute to the test days, what you have to do is just set up a VM with the latest, like just Sumantro talked about, like you do install a Fedora 33, you can get the links. So all the links are there in the description box. So you just go down to the video description and you will find all the important links out there. And even Sumantro's email ID is there. If you face any difficulty, just drop down an elaborative mail that, hey, this is something that I am looking for. You go there and he'll be there to assist you out any single point of time. So like Sumantro is someone who is quite active in Fedora. He makes sure that every single thing, the features you are testing, are working well along. So he'll be the right guy to help you out there. So another following question coming from Amitek is that is it recommended to test the unstable kernel on your primary workstation?
So there are two ways of answering it. One,
Mhm.
if you have data on it, we would recommend you not to. But here is the
Yeah.
thing: unless you are not installing that operating system, you don't care about the data much. You just can use it as a live boot, test it, submit the logs, and see if everything is working
See.
fine. See, you don't need
Oh,
to actually install to run the test. You just have to
right.
make sure that it is bootable. Right? Once you are able to boot into it, you should be able to run the test, and that should be fine.
Yes.
It So that's the thing. However, when we do it as a live stream today, we're going to install the operating system, we are going to play around a bit and see everything is working fine. We're going to do some stuff, right? But for any of our users, definitely if you want to test, we would go for virtualization. If you however want to test it on a bare metal, live boot a USB and then just go for it. Like that shouldn't be a problem. And if you have a higher space, something like a 64 gig USB. Install Fedora on it. Like, just install it to that
Yes.
particular hard drive, play around with it, you know, reformat.
And make that
That's
right. Yeah.
it's a simple
That
TD
is
command,
the
right?
most
That's not
easiest way.
hard.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
if you
Yes.
really wanted to install Fedora and play with the latest one, yeah, go for it. Just use it
Go ahead.
as a, you know, as a thing. So that's fine. So let's
Absolutely.
jump into
So
something.
the things acknowledgement also comes side by side from Abhishek. Got it. Thanks. So I guess I'm also quite like excited, just like Shivani said. Yay! So I request everyone to put down Fedora OP in the chat, please. And while Sumantro brings his on screen, we'll do the kernel testing live in front of you, so that you have the sense that if you are gonna do the kernel testing, how it actually works. So all the viewers who are watching it, please put down Fedora OP in the chat, so that while Sumantro works on presenting the screen, we have something Fedorians write out here and shows down our support to the Fedora community. Yeah, so Sumantro, please. So
Um,
we can see the screen. Yes. So we can see the
okay,
VM, and we are going to create it live, right?
true. So it's a very
True.
fresh,
Okay.
new, clean stuff. It's not like
Yes.
pre-populated
We have
with stuff.
chatted up anything and we are just coding it. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, this
true.
is going to be like everyone who is watching right now can do it. If they
Yes.
have a Fedora or you have anything which can run a virtual machine, go for it. For me, I love using a KVM because it leverages the kernel right away. So, I'm going to use
Yes.
VMM as it is a KVM supported, and I'm going to show how to set that up. So, first thing first, when you have a virtual machine, and the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to this file. You're going to find the option called new virtual machine. When you click on
Right.
it, can you see I don't think
No,
you
we
see.
cannot. Yeah,
Let me share the entire screen, else it's going to be like,
sure. Yeah,
because
that is
look,
something like when you share down a window, that
yeah,
definitely has certain limitations to come up.
yeah. So
And
what's
then people
best
will
is,
say that Gaurav is here to just show us the scripted thing. No, people, we are going to do it live in front of you, how we
Gaurav,
even
can you
create the
share
views.
it?
Yeah, we can
Is
see the
Gaurav?
screen. Yes.
Oh yeah, that's good now.
Okay.
So I'm gonna populate my virtual machine manager. Okay, let me
Yes.
just. So if you can see my VMM right now, can you see my
Right.
VMM by the way?
Yeah, we can.
Great. So when you go here, I'm gonna,
And even I guess we can just minimize the StreamYard icon, so that it is just the VM which we can see.
can,
Yeah,
how about this?
now, yeah, it is seems okay.
Okay. So when you
Right.
create a virtual machine first, you gotta
Hmm.
pull an image, and how you're gonna
Yeah.
get the images. Gaurav, can you, I'm gonna copy this link over to the StreamYard to you,
Yeah.
and you
Hmm.
can actually go ahead and paste that link somewhere on YouTube. So you're gonna actually go ahead, open this wiki up. When you
Hmm.
open this wiki up, this is gonna be the announcement wiki for the test week.
Right.
So I'll let it load up a bit.
So people, this
Um,
link I have posted in the chat box. You can copy paste the link, and you can see
yeah.
that this is the test day that
So
we are running out. Right.
so once
Hmm.
you have done it, you see there is a test image link over here. When you open this
Yes.
link up, you would be able to download an image for
Right.
510 kernel, and that is this ISO 510.4. It's a 2.3 gig ISO. However, if you're using Fedora 32, this is the RPM that you need to install. Like right
Hmm.
now, I am going to use the ISO because we are going to do it live. So I'm going to use the ISO. Hopefully, I have downloaded this ISO before. So it's on my system right now. We're going to start from there. So if you're
Hmm.
new, you can download this and then pause until it downloads and then come back and watch the live stream once it's done, right? So I'm gonna go browse, I'm gonna go local, and I'm gonna go onto my home. I'm gonna pick up the latest 5.9. So the thing is, well, I'm gonna do 5.10. So I have the ISO right there. Okay, so since, like I said, this is untested, so you have to
Yes.
manually go for Fedora unknown because, well,
This is not the
I'm gonna, for the sake of it, you can run it on two CPUs. I'm just gonna give it three because I have eight, and I'm gonna give it 4096. You can do it easily on 2 GB as well. I just
yes.
want to fast forward the thing a bit because more memory, more power. Um, I'll leave the configuration to 20 gig. That's not essential. I can even have it like 5 gig if required, but that's it. And I'm gonna say kernel 510, um, and then I'm just gonna finish. So once I do this, it's gonna start off my ISO,
Yes.
and once, so it'll boot up like a normal ISO, and then I will be jumping onto something very important. So,
While the
Gaurav,
thing boots up,
sure.
I have one request. Yeah, Sumantro, sorry, please. You were saying
No, no,
something.
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
So what I was saying for all the viewers who all are watching and who are gonna watch after this stream, what I want to actually ask you, do leave the comment on this video that this is something that we want to also see on the technical side. I have some amazing session lined up already on the development of soft skills for you all, some interesting giveaways, some interesting collaboration that you never ever heard of. They are lined up, but on the technical front I need all your help. That hey, we want to see this video. Like kernel testing is something which is very new to YouTube, or I believe if somebody is there, I haven't seen it. So if you want me to do certain more collaboration with all the industry experts, do leave down a comment in the video that hey, this is something that we are looking for. Even a small configuration of shell also, I can definitely help you to do it. So let's do it. Yeah. Yes, Mantro, tell me.
So, hey, can you share the? So, if I split the screen, can you still share? Can you still see it like
No, no,
properly?
it is absolutely fine. Yeah, we can see that. Yes.
Great. So, I'm gonna install from here, and I'm gonna
Mhm.
click install, and I'm just gonna
Yes.
go through the process because I don't want to skip anything. Right.
Yes.
So, however, if I wanted to, so once I set this up for installation, I'll
Mhm.
show one more thing quickly. So these are the default options. I'm not changing anything. I'm just default installing it. Um, so people don't have any queries. So I'm installing this thing. You don't actually also need to install because if I'm if I actually show you something,
Mhm.
do you see it has the latest kernel already, right? So I am
Yes.
installing it for the purpose of testing whether after installation things works fine or not. But if you if you are if you just want to do it live on a live operating system without installing it, you still can do it, right?
Yes.
Because you have the 5.10 already loaded, right? And now it's an interesting thing. So after installation, we will obviously check how it works and how it doesn't, right? But
Right.
the idea here is that the first thing first, we need to understand that the when you are done in, when you are done with the testing, you need to upload the file to a
Yes.
particular application. And for that, you need a ID called the FAS ID,
Pass ID.
which is your identifier to your contributions. So think of it
Got
like
it.
all your contributions are going to be mapped to this one ID called the FAS ID. So Gaurav, how about
Right.
you tell them, or rather, you give them the link of how to create a FAS ID? You can, and
Yeah.
you
So
can actually.
basically, we have already pasted the important links in the description of this particular
Awesome,
video. So you can
awesome,
just go and fetch down all the details right over there. And even just for creating the FAS account, what I'll do, I'll just also put down in the chat section of our stream. No problem.
great.
And it's done.
So awesome. So this is installing. I don't have to wait until that. Then let me quickly show how it works. So the first thing first is, I can actually go run this command.
So can we increase the font size of terminal for all our viewers,
Oh yeah,
please?
sure, sure, sure.
Yeah.
How about
Yes, that
this?
works absolutely fine. And actually, nothing to be worried because the setup things are right there. You just have to execute the commands like
Yeah,
what Sumantro is doing. So yeah,
yeah. So this
and do
is the
respect the
regression
privacy
test
of
case.
others.
Yeah, so this is the regression test case, which is on the left side of
Yes.
my screen. And if you
Mhm.
look at it, it contains a bunch of install steps and the
Yes.
things that you need to run. Now,
Right.
to be very precise with you, you just have to install all of these and then get started. And that's like that's what we are going to follow. I'm not going to change a single step over here, right? And then
Yes.
it's just gonna turn out the way it is. So right currently I'm installing it on live ISO, and however
Right.
after the installation this would instantly go away. So I'm waiting for the installation to complete. Let me just complete the installation, do a init6, come back. So until then, let me tell you something very interesting. So every time we have this kernel test week, we have close to, and this is the approximate value I can tell you, you know, about 100 to 300 people contributing per kernel test week.
Hmm.
That's the size of our community. 300 people give their devices out for testing, as in they test it on multiple devices to ensure that the stuff goes right, like the new kernel is supported. Currently, if I have to look, the very first thing is a MacBook Pro with 4 GB Intel i7, which has
Okay.
passed the regression. The second thing is a Ryzen 3700. Then there is a Lenovo two-in-one. And if you look
Hmm.
at it, the the amount of hardware that we check for, some of the hardware, like I personally haven't even heard of. Like, have you? I don't think you have heard of this one at all. Like, did you?
Hmm.
So essentially, that way, if you have any, even an older model hardware which is lying around in your house, which you're not using, you don't have any chance of using as well. Yeah, this is a good time to, like, this is this guy. Look at this guy. He tested it on a Code 2 Duo.
What to do?
That's like
Yes.
a that's like a 10-year-old machine, and see, that is even supported with the new kernel, right? So the idea here is that even if you have an older hardware, so don't think of the new hardware that we're going to test and we're going to post the result. Even if you have a very old hardware, like some machine that barely works, you know try Linux onto it and see if it works at all, right? That gives you the confidence that things are going to be fine. So let's get to the test case. Let's have this test case on. Now, if you look at it, the packages are installed pretty much fine. I'm gonna I'm gonna just go ahead. So this, since this is a kernel test image, almost everything that you see would be done. So even you don't have to clone anything. You can, if I do a LSA, you should be able to see a kernel test folder out there, which you need to,
Yes.
which on a normal day you would have to git clone. That is already there for you. So just go into kernel test and execute this command, and that is going to just go ahead and run the test
In the
suite
test.
with default configuration, right? So there are multiple ways
Right.
of testing it. One is the performance testing, one is the default testing. Performance test takes time. It's for some people that might even take like good 1.5 hour, 2 hours, because it tests a lot of things inside it. The
Right.
default one will just test for very basic stuff like IO, your making sure that your pack storage passes, and a lot of basic tests. And it's gonna mostly give you the results in like hardly 5 or 10 minutes. Like that is because of the fact that it is going to be very, very simple for the kernel to go ahead and give you an result, and whatever configuration that it doesn't get, it is gonna skip it. Like you see packs test skipped, so it's gonna skip it. Whichever configuration doesn't matches with this current configuration, it's just gonna skip it for now, right?
Hmm.
And then if you look at it, it's done now.
Done.
And if you see, we had a lot of vulnerability, like we had meltdown, we have spectre, we had a lot of kind of fixes that went into. If you look at it, this is the current, after the test runs, it tells you the current status of your vulnerabilities. So if I maximize the machine a bit, you should be able to see that
Yes.
it tells you that the vulnerability, meltdown, and the state of the machine. And if you look at it, it says that all these things are fixed at this point. And this is a good, this this data is very important to have, because this tells basically about if your machine is vulnerable or not at this point. So a
Right.
lot of older machines may be vulnerable. Newer type of CPUs are not that vulnerable, but every time you run the kernel testing, it tells you exactly if something is vulnerable, and should you upgrade your CPU and stuff like that. I mean, not life-breaking decisions, but you can get it, right? So
Right.
once this is done, it also tells you that your log is saved in this file, and you should update it here. So if I open this link up, let's say, and this is, so if you look at it, I'm gonna quickly open up stats for our viewers to show them
Hmm.
something important. So the moment I open the stats, you are able to see something very unique. So remember, we
Hmm.
were testing our kernel version 5.10.4, right? So
Right.
we were testing on 5.10.4. This is our kernel version. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to come over here. And if you look at it, this is the amount of kernel that gets shipped with per release. So think about the number of testing that could have happened. Only in 33, we had 136 number of kernels. We ran 1800 tests on it of three architectures types, and there were
Hmm.
like 232 testers who tested it.
Tested it.
Until now, we have around 4,000 odd tests, and we had tested 4,400 odd kernels across 13 architectures. So it's not just
Hmm.
x86 64, it is ARM architecture, ARC 64 architecture, our
Right.
IBM's PowerPC LE, S390X, and then there are a lot of type of things that we test on, right? But here's the important thing. So I'm gonna go do a control F on this. I'm gonna paste it. So if you look at it very interestingly, this is exactly what is going on. Do you see that the performance, the people who ran the performance test, that's a very
Let's
less number of
enlarge
people
the
that did it.
size. Zoom
Exactly.
in into this.
And if you look at it, if let me increase the size. Can you see it now?
Yes, we can. We can.
So if you look at it, see 511 kernel is already in there, right? But we are now testing for 510.
510.
So now 510 has a 510 performance, 510 5, 510 4, and this is what we are testing for right now. If you look at
Right.
it, there are 273 people who tested it on x86-64 architecture. Okay, out of 85 people tested it with 273 test case runs. ARM v7, which is ARM architecture for version 7, which is your Raspberry Pi 3 and below. There were couple of testers who tested that. Then there comes ARC64, which is your Raspberry Pi 4 and beyond, right? And you see a lot of people have been testing the architectures. This status just goes on and on about, tells more and more about how many machines are being tested, and this is the actual data which helps RHEL at the end of the day. This when you look
So,
at, yeah,
I just want to make a very important point for all the viewers, that if you are able to see the data or the statistics which we are able to show you right now, they are the public data which is available. Second most, like just Montro talked about, that if you are like the Raspberry Pi fan, or if you are the Arc 64, or if you are using x86 64 or i386 or whatever it is, the architecture depends. You can proudly say that out of that 273 contributors, I am the one who is actually doing it. And if you have something different, actually it is going to reflect it that yes, he's the one or she is the one who has actually done this testing, and nobody can hide it. And that's the important part, that if you want to show your contribution value, these are the statistics which are going to make it authorized also. Because I have seen many people who just fake about the things, and this is nothing which is getting fake. This is being mentored and tested by the fedoraproject.org. Nobody can deny this particular part. This is a proper organization who keeps the track, and it is right in front of you. Okay. So Sumantro, means can we tell them that now we have got the log file, how we can
yeah.
just simply upload it? Yeah.
So I have logged into my user. So once you create your FAS, you should be able to log into this
Yes.
particular link.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna upload. So I'm gonna upload, and here's the fun. If you look at it, it would directly take me to home, kernel
Mhm.
tests. I'll have logs, and this is the log that got generated,
Log test. Yes.
right? I'm gonna select the log and submit. The moment I do so, it's gonna submit the log.
Yes.
And the moment I submit the log, here's what I want you to note.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna go to the stats, and if I go to the stats back again, in some time, the stats, do you see that I was 83 then and now it became 85?
Yes. 85.
That's
Well,
how you can live say that this was the live stats that I was fetching onto. I uploaded my logs and it got updated. And
yeah.
now what I'm going to do is even more cool. I'm
Hmm.
gonna go back to my wiki, open up this, go to here, and I'm gonna enter my result. And I'm gonna say Sumantro M, which is my FAS ID, and I'm
Hmm.
gonna say KVM um, with kernel test week ISO,
Hmm.
and I gave it what? I gave it 4 GB of RAM, and you know I gave it 2 CPU, right?
Right.
And it's passed,
Right.
and all works fine with test suite called with default.
Right.
Submit. The moment I do so, I'm gonna give it like 3 4 seconds, and the moment I refresh this page, I go
Hmm.
here and I type my name. Do you see? This is what I
It's right
posted.
over there.
So Two
So
things.
people, just one thing before you step in, Sumantro, means this is what actually authentic testing and the contribution is all about. I guess you don't require big skill sets to do it. People like us, because at Fedora we treat every single individual as our friend, we have made it very easier to do the testing. You have the script ready. You just have to deploy a VM. You create the VM, you create your login into your fast account. By the same time, you execute your script and just upload the result and whatnot, whatever the details you want to give. It is publicly available for your evidence and the authentication. And that's what I say, that yes, whenever you do the contribution, even your small contribution matters to us. And I guess that is
So
life. Yeah.
I'm going to show something
Mm.
since I cannot open my mail from, and that would be very bad. But I'm
Yes.
going to show something important. So if you look
Yes.
at my screen right now, it says it sent me an email. It
Yeah.
said that I ran a test and it passed,
Mhm.
right?
It passed.
So every
Yes.
time you run this,
Hmm.
whatever the kernel version you are running it for, you will get an email like this saying
Yes.
that you ran a test case and it passed, right?
Yeah.
So that is a, I mean, that is exactly what it is, right? You can now
So
you
this
can
is
test
one
it
of
by
the most easiest way to be the contributor or to get
get
start with your contribution. So
exactly.
all the people who are watching our video, if you want to get started with the contribution, this is the most easiest way to get yourself ready with the open source contribution, or I should say, let's Fedora. Oh, this is
So
something interesting which I am fan of.
now interesting. Now interestingly,
Yes.
this is my
Hmm.
badges page, and badges is this currency of recognition, right? You
Yes.
contribute and you get badges, right? And here's
Yes.
the thing: if you look at my quality badges, like the first time you run a kernel testing, you're going to get this badge. It's called the Science Kernel Tester Badge 1, which means you completed a kernel regression test suite. You
Yes.
completed one run of kernel regression. Five
Hmm.
kernels, you get one. 10 kernels, you get the third level, and then 25 kernel you get the fourth level, right? And now the that level, every time you cross each levels you get a badge, right? Amongst
Right.
all the other badges you just keep getting these badges. And
Yes.
then, with coming days, me and Gaurav would be talking about the test days and how to work on them. Like this badge was for the Core OS test day. This badge is for the cloud test day. And then, in that was for Fedora 33 cycle. In 34, we are going to
Right.
have Core OS test day. We're also going to have a cloud test day. So the more you participate, the more badges you're going to get like that wise, right?
And that
And
simply, like Sumantro rightly mentioned, that badges are your currencies. So the more currency you have, the more wealthier you are in the Fedora community.
exactly.
And just showcase, I believe Sumantro is one of those who has plenty of the unique and
No,
the
no, no, no.
unique
Wait,
badges.
wait. There are people. There are people. So
Yes.
there's a guy called Adam.
Hmm.
He goes by Adam Williamson. He's the lead for the
Yes.
entire thing. So I can search him over here.
Hmm.
Let me see if I can find Adam Will. And trust me, I am nothing in comparison to Adam Will. If you look at his badges, you're gonna realize that, well, you know,
154.
yeah, he is the, like, if you look at his just development badges, he has like done
Done
almost
it all.
anything that you need, right? And
Yes.
then if you look at his even community badges, his quality badges, right? This is the guy
Yeah.
who has like done a lot of testing around there,
Right.
right? And Fedora even gives you badges to port Python packages and fix vulnerabilities. Like if you look at his badges, he was one of the people who spent a overnight to work to push fix for the heartbleed security. And
Yes.
the same for shell shock. Like you helped us fix
Yes.
the bash, shell shock bug, right? And the same thing, like when he ported, packages to Python 3, he got a badge for that. Like you can contribute and get badges for like a lot of things in Fedora. And that's that determines what level of contributor you are, right?
Right.
So
So people means I have talked this thing, and me and Sumantra were discussing in our previous video that why it is important to contribute. So we made a detailed video on that, that why it is important and how you can get started. All the important links are in the description. This video we want to keep it very short and sweet, where we just want to show you that how you can be the contributor, or how you can just get started with your initial contribution. So Sumantra was, what he displayed right now, you do the kernel testing, was very much short and sweet. So this is one thing. But now if you are facing some issues, if you are getting some trouble, if you want to reach out to us, feel free to drop an email to Sumantro that hey, this is where I am stuck, and if you want, like, we both are there to help you out. So ping to Sumantro, ping to Gaurav at gmail.com are our sweet and simple email addresses, where you can
yeah.
just drop an email with your queries, and we will be right there to help you in the best way we can. So any specific message, Sumantro, to all the viewers out there?
So yes, so getting started is really, really the see. I always learn from one thing. It's either one day or it is day one,
Day one.
right? So
Absolutely, absolutely.
so this you can either say one day you would be a contributor, or this can be a day one, right? And
Yes.
it's in Fedora at least we have a lot of places where you can start contributing from. It's not like
Hmm.
you are stuck with just one thing. Like you can literally
Yes.
go like from being just a tester to someone who writes test plans to test weeks to test days. And in fact, like if you have the skill set, I would be more happy to have a test week around the package that you want to have. I would want to
Hmm.
help you write test cases for most of the packages that exist. Like if you're good with security, come, I will help you write package test case for PAM, right? And if you're good with SSH, come and we will figure out a way to write test cases for
That's
SLMS
good for
policies.
such.
Yeah, I mean, there are like so
Reach
many
out to
things.
us.
Yes, reach
Yeah.
out to us, and we
Yes.
would be more than
So
enough happy to
I guess
get.
all the emails are there in the like description of this video. Do feel free to drop on an email. Let's connect, because we all are friends and family. We want to help you in the best way we can. And I personally want to thank you, Sumantro, for helping us with doing this very easy and thing where we can do the kernel testing out there and show to all viewers that if you want to be the contributors, you need not to be a hardcore developer background person who
Yeah,
knows a lot of big coding and you can write down the scripts and do. No, open source contribution is all about getting started. So that's the thing. I'll take just one question from our viewer, Sumantra, and then we can help you to go.
sure.
So one question is there from Vishal, that my question is the kernel testing time take sometime bugs are detected. So some bugs, this is the summit on Bugzilla means, if
Oh
his
yeah. So
question is
I
yes.
think is yeah. If he detects a bug, can he
Yes.
report it to Bugzilla?
Yes.
100%. So here's the thing. Bugzilla
Hmm.
has recently integrated a login with FAS plugin
Hmm.
over there.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
if you are someone who is like testing and you get a bug, right?
Hmm.
It's the two easiest way to report them is one, file a bug if you don't see anyone around, or two, hop onto the IRC channel and
Hmm.
or on the Telegram group or on the test email address or write to me, right? You
Yes.
have a lot of options to decide from. if
Yes.
you if you feel that you need to file a bug, this is breaking, go ahead, file a bug. That's Bugzilla for you. However, if you're unsure, just go ahead, write an email to me or write an email to testlist@fedoraproject.org, right? And if you're very unsure and you want discussion of whether it is a bug or something wrong has happened or something like that, there is something called IRC. It's not that cool, but we still have a Fedora group of Fedora QA. Search for Fedora QA on Telegram, you will get a group. Add yourself to the group and start asking questions like, I started to run this test day
Yeah.
for this particular thing and it did not work. Where do I go? If nobody responds, ping me directly. I would be able to respond. Usually, I
Mhm.
let community members handle stuff. I don't directly try. See, it's a thing. So I let everybody work to their potential, right? If someone is good at onboarding, I let them onboard. If someone is good at solving doubt, I let them solve doubts, right? So if you are posting something, nobody is replying, just hit me up with the same question, and I should be able to answer them. That shouldn't
Right.
be a problem.
So I hope,
Having said,
Vishal, now you know the right person to connect. So just drop down an email with your detailed query, and we will be there to help you out. So yeah, thank you so much, Sumantro, for
yeah,
enlightening our viewers that how easy it is to make the contribution to kernel test days. I guess we both are already in plan to host one more test day with the upcoming test week. So, all the viewers, please feel free to always watch out Sumantro's post on the Fedora magazine so that you are always updated. Do subscribe to it and don't miss any update. So, follow us on LinkedIn, on Twitter. We keep on posting all the test weeks
yeah.
that whenever it happens, we are up there. So follow Sumantro on LinkedIn, on Twitter. So Twitter handle he has just named it. It's Sumantro M, and the LinkedIn ID you will get in the description box. So yeah, do
It's
follow
also
him. Do
Sumantro.
reach out to him.
My
Yes. So
everything is Sumantro M, right? So
Sumantro
that's one.
M. So yeah.
In fact,
So
in
thank you
Fedora,
so much, Sumantro. Sumantro, for helping us understanding the kernel test week, and it's important. Well, I'll catch you very soon with
so,
another test week on my channel itself. Okay.
all
Thank
right.
you so much, buddy. Thank you. So for all the viewers, I hope you get a night glimpse that what is takes to be the contributor, how easy it is to be the contributor. So my objective being starting the Cheers with Gaurav was always to bring down the ease of access and to make that contribution valuable so that every single individual who watch out you and says that you cannot be a contributor, we are actually looking for a contributor, can you help us? Yes, it is that much easy to be the contributor and showcase what actually is right. So that's the part. So I hope you got the thing. So once again reiterating my word that objective of kernel is always to establish the communication between user level applications and the hardware. Kernels actually decide the state of incoming processes. It helps you to control the disk management, memory management, and the task management. So that's the reason the kernel test weeks are very much important for us at Fedora. So we all, as the Fedora community members and the advocates, we always make sure that yes, the Fedora kernel test days are happening every single day. So this is the very first test week of 2021 that we have done. I'm planning to do more sessions, and please feel free to let me know what kind of technology you want to see on your channel. So cheers with Gaurav is all about us. And just to remind that we have done a giveaway on 31st of December 2020. Tomorrow it's gonna be the last day. Do watch out that video on my channel also, that how to participate in that giveaway. Please feel free to just participate in it, and we are going to give some very good swags out there to all the people who have submitted it. Not to all, yes, some lucky ones will be get selected, and yes, you might be the one to get the cool swags from my side. So towards the end, I just want to frame down a single quote which I remember from Julian Barnes, which says that to be stupid and selfish and to have good health are the three requirement of happiness. So be stupid, be selfish, and more important, be healthy. So that's the most important part. I'll see you next whenever this video pops out. So you know the drill, what you have to do. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll wait you on another video which I'm just gonna host up. So I'll see you then. Cheers with Gaurav signing